The drum had begun before the sun had fully risen, their deep echoes rolling across the hill of Nadi village like a heartbeat awakening the earth itself. It was the day the elders speak of for generations, a day of union, a day of celebration, a day that would later be remembered not for the joy it carried, but for the silence it left behind. Obiora had stood at the center of it all, wrapped in a fine Isiagu cloth, the red cap of honor resting firmly upon his head. His shoulders were broad, his stance proud, yet beneath the surface of a calm expression, something restless stirred. He waited for this day, fought for it, prayed for it, and now, as the villagers gathered, dancing and singing, praising his name and the beauty of his bride, he felt something could not explain. A whisper in his chest, a warning in his heart, two that refused to understand. Why do you look like a man about to go to war? His friend Chiketist slapped him lightly on the back. Obiora forced a smile. A wedding is kind of war, he replied. A man leaves behind one life and enters another. Chike laughed. Then may you win this war, and never returned. But Obiora's gaze drifted beyond the crowd, toward the path that led to the bride's compound. I only pray she's ready, he murmured. Her name was Zainab. She was not from Nadi. She came from far beyond the river plains, from a place where the air carried different song, and the moonlight seemed to shine with a secret of its own. When she first arrived, the village had fallen silent. Men stopped mid-conversation. Women paused in their chores. Children stared with wide and curious eyes. She was unlike anyone they'd seen. Her beauty was not loud. It did not command attention. It pulled you quietly, like a story whispered in the night. Her skin glowed like polished bronze under the sun. Her eyes, deep, dark, and endless, held a mystery that made even the boldest men lower their gaze. And when she spoke, her voice carried both warmth and distance. As thought part of her was always somewhere else, Obiora had fallen for her the moment she stepped into the village, not because she was beautiful, but because she felt different, like destiny wrapped in human skin. And now she was to become his wife. At her father's compound, the final preparation were underway. Women surrounded Zainab, adjusting her attire, braiding her hair, with beads and shimmered like tiny stars. Her wedding wrapper was rich and vibrant, woven with symbols of fertility and unity. Yet they adorned her. Laughter filled the air. Zainab remained still, too still. Smile, my daughter, one of the eldest women said gently. Today is your day. Zainab forced a smile. Yes, she said softly. My day. But her eyes betrayed her. They flickered towards the doorway, towards the outside world, as though she was listening to something only she could hear. Her mother, Amina, noticed. She stepped closer, her voice low. You're not ready, she said. It was not a question. Zainab swallowed. I must be, she replied. Amina studied her for long. Marriage is not a place to hide from truth, she warned. If there is something in your heart, speak it now. Zainab's hands trembled slightly. There are things, she whispered, that cannot be spoken. Amina's expression hardened. Then they will not remain hidden forever. Zainab closed her eyes. I know. The ceremony was grand. The entire village gathered under the open sky, the elders seated in a place of honor, the youth dancing with joy that seemed endless. Zainab was led in slowly, her steps measured by her face, yet calm, distant. Obiora watched her approach, his breath catching in his throat. She was breathtaking, but something was wrong. He felt it. Like a shadow beneath the sunlight. Their eyes met. She smiled, but did not reach her eyes. Still, the rituals were completed. Prayers were spoken. Blessings were given. Palm one was shared. By the setting sun, Zainab became Obiora's wife. The village erupted in celebration. Songs rose in the evening air. Laughter filled every corner. It was perfect, or so it seemed. Night fell gently over Nadi. The stars shone brightly, watching as the festivities slowly faded into quiet murmurs and tired smiles. Inside their newly prepared hearts, Obiora waited. A small lamp flickered beside him, casting dancing shadows on the wall. His heart pounded, not with fear, but with anticipation. And something else, something he could not name. The door cracked open. Zainab stepped inside. She moved slowly, almost hesitantly, her eyes scanning the room as though she had never seen it before. Obiora stood. "You're here," he said softly. She nodded. "I am here." Silence between them settled so heavy, uncomfortable. He stepped closer. "You have been quiet all day," he said. "Are you well?" Zainab looked at him, really looked, and for a moment something deep and unspoken passed between them. "I am where I am meant to be," she replied. It was not an answer, but it was enough, or at least he tried to believe it was. He reached for her hand. It was cold, too cold. A shiver ran down his spine. "Zainab!" But he could not say more. She pulled away. "I need air," she said quickly. But before he could respond, she stepped outside. Obiora frowned. Something was wrong, deeply wrong. He waited. Minutes passed, then more. The night grew quieter, too quiet. A strange unease settled over him. Finally, he stood and walked to the door. "Zainab," he called. No answer. He stepped outside. The courtyard was empty. The wind rustled through the trees softly. "Zainab," he called again, louder this time. Still nothing. His heart began to race. He moved farther out, scanning the darkness. There was no sign of her, no footprints, no sound, nothing. Just the stillness of the night that suddenly felt unnatural. And in that moment, Obiora realized something that sent chill through his entire being. His wife had vanished. The village awoke to chaos. By morning, everyone knew. The bride who had been celebrated hours before had disappeared without a trace. Search parties were formed. Men combined into the forest. Women gathered, whispering in fear. The elders sat in grave silence. Obiora stood at the center of it all, his face pale, his eyes hollow. "She could not have gone far," Chike insisted. "We will find her." But Obiora said nothing, because deep within him, he knew this was not something ordinary. Days passed, no sign, no trace, no explanation. The joy of the wedding turned into a shadow of fear that hung over Nadi. Whispers began to spread. She was not from here, some said. There was something strange about her, others nodded. She was not entirely human. The words were dangerous, but no one dared to say them loudly, except one, Mama Ifunanya, the oldest woman in the village. She had called Obiora. When he arrived at her hut, she was seated, waiting. Her eyes, clouded with age, seemed to see far beyond the present. "You married a mystery," she said. Obiora clenched its fist. "She is my wife." Maifunanya nodded slowly. "And yet she is gone." He stepped closer. "Tell me what you know." She leaned forward. "Some women are not meant to belong to the men," she said. "They come from places older than our stories, places where promises are not easily broken." Obiora's breath caught. "What are you saying?" She held his gaze. "I'm saying your wife did not disappear." A pause. "She was taken back." Silence. Heavy. Terrifying. "Taken? By who?" Obiora whispered. Mama Ifunanya's voice dropped to a near whisper. "By what it truly is." That night, Obiora made a decision. He could not sit and wait. He would not accept whispers and fear. He would find her, no matter what it took, even if it meant stepping into the unknown. He returned to the place where he had last seen her, the edge of the forest, the same place where the air had felt different, where the silence had been spoken louder than words. Standing there, he closed his eyes. "Zainab," he whispered, "if you can hear me, I'm coming for you." The wind stirred, the trees rustled, and then a faint sound, like a whisper, carried on the breeze. He opened his eyes and saw something that made his heart stop. A trail, faint, barely visible, leading deeper into the forest. He took a step forward, then another, and another, each step pulling him further away from the world he knew, and closer to the truth that would change everything. The deeper he went, the stranger the forest became. The air grew thick, the light dimmed, and then silence. It was no longer empty. It was watching, waiting. Then he saw it, a clearing, and at its center, a river. But it was not like any river he had seen. The water shimmered like moonlight liquid, and standing at its edge was Zainab. She turned slowly. Her eyes no longer held the softness he knew. They glowed, ancient, powerful, unfamiliar. "Obiora," she said. Her voice was the same, yet different, echo with something beyond human. He should not have come. His heart pounded. "I came for my wife." She shook her head. You came for something you do not understand. He stepped closer. Then help me understand it. She looked at him, and for a moment, the woman he had loved returned. I wanted to stay, she whispered. I tried. Then why did you leave? He asked. Tears filled her glowing eyes. Because I was never meant to belong to your world. The river beyond her began to glow brighter. The night we married, the bond was broken. The truth awakened. Obiora's voice trembled. What truth? Zainab took a step back. I am not what you think I am. The water rose slightly, responding to her presence. I am of the river, she said softly, a spirit bound to its death. I took human form to live among you. Obiora world shuddered. No, yes, she said gently. And the moment I became your wife, the river called me back. He shook his head. I do not care what you are, he said. You are my wife. She smiled sadly. And you are a man of the earth. The distance between them felt endless now. I cannot stay, she whispered. But I can choose how I live. The river surged. The air trembled. Remember me, she said. And before he could move, she stepped into the water and vanished. Obiora felt his knees. The silence returned. But it was no longer empty. It was filled with loss, with truth, with something far greater than love. He returned to Nandi a changed man. He never took another wife, never spoke of what he saw. But every evening he would walk to the edge of the forest and stand, waiting, listening, hoping. But somewhere beyond the world of men, the wife who had disappeared on a wedding night still remembered him. And in Nadi, they tell this story still, not as one of loss, but as a reminder that some love, it is not meant to last, but to awaken, and that not everything that walk among us belongs to us. If you have watched this story till the end, please do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Also comment and turn on the notification bell so that anytime we drop a story, you'll be the first person to watch it. Bye.